Good morning and welcome to Miniature Monday here on Gaming with ADHD, where today we're going to be taking a look at the miniatures for the Marauders that you receive in the Firefight starter set from Mantic Games. Now, if you were here last week, I did an unboxing of the entire set, kind of show off the frames, what you get inside, the books, the dice, all that kind of stuff. So if you do want to have a look at that, I will have it linked in the description. But over the past week, I have actually been building and assembling the models. And so I figured I would give you some 360 close-up views of the models. We can talk about how much content is left on the sprues once they're done, but basically just kind of give you an overview of what to expect once your models are built. I mean, we all see fancy pictures, but sometimes we miss that in-between process. So before we get started, do make sure you're subscribed to the channel. I try to put out a few videos each week covering all sorts of tabletop games, whether it's miniatures, role-playing, board games, or honestly anything in between. And I'd love for you to come along and see what we have to share. So with that out of the way, let's go ahead and take a look. Now, we're going to start with the Marauder Commando Captain. Now, this is built just off of the regular Marauder sprue. Now, the sprues give you parts to build either 10 commandos or 10 brawlers. So basically your brawlers have a pistol and a close combat weapon. We'll take a look at those here in a few. And your commandos have rifles. So the captain, they show you the body, a head, which in this case is the one with the nice, I think it's called a campaign hat. Don't correct me in the comments. That's totally fine. I totally am fine with that. But basically it's two pieces, or two arms, a head, and the body. That's it. If you include the base, you're up to a grand total of 5 pieces. So let's be honest, you're not going to get a ton of posability out of this. You know, they're not ball joints except for like the neck. The legs are already in a static position. So, you know, that's going to play into your decision. Are these the kind of models that you want to get? And to me, they're great. You know, these are as much model as I need without being too much. I actually thought it was nice how quickly they went together. Now, the joints are butt joints. Basically, that means it's a flat cut on the shoulder. And so, you know, your two pieces, it's, you know, you have essentially you can, you know, spin it like that, but that's really all you can do. You know, so either up or down, and basically the rest of the posing depends on the arm. But they actually have a lot of good poses as well. We'll definitely take a look at that as we get into other miniatures. Now, for me, just to show it, I guess I should show the actual label. This is all I used. It's Testors liquid cement for plastic. I use that because basically it kind of melts the plastic and fuses it into one piece, which will actually make them stronger in case you drop them on the floor, things like that. Not that you will, just in case. But other than that, they go together, they look good, and I'm actually kind of excited to get this guy painted. On Mondays, I am doing live streams where I work on the models, and so if you check in on the channel, you should be able to either catch me live or see a replay while I'm working on these. But anyways, so he's been up here for a little while, but this is the Marauder Commando Captain. We'll let him come back around, face us, and then we will swap out for some other models. And there we go. All right, now continuing on, we've got the Marauder Commandos. Now these are orcs that are armed with rifles. So, and also I believe it's a heavy machine gun. Yes, heavy machine gun, as you see from that guy right in front. Now, you get about 13 different heads on the Marauder sprue. That does include the Commando Captain head, but it's orcs with campaign, like the little just utility caps, bear heads, football helmets. The heavy machine gun guy, I gave him the kind of the big armored helmet. You've got a few different options, and you'll have some left over. But again, the bodies are static posed. The heavy machine gun is up to 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 parts, including the base. So again, you're still not adding in a lot of pieces. But overall, as you can see, there's a bunch of different poses. Now, I probably could have put up more, but I only have so much room on my display stand. But again, it does show you that these are not all going to be identical, static, posed figures. They are static, but I mean just where every single model is identical. So you're going to get some variety. You're going to get some flavor out of these miniatures. And I think it comes off really, really well. So overall, really good. Trying to think of what else to say. There's not a ton else to say on these. But I do like, they give the different armor plates, the, knee pads. These guys are, some of them are covered in grenades and bullets and, all sorts of stuff. It's just a lot of goofy fun, but not too goofy. Adds a little bit of playfulness into it, I would say. But, not as goofy as some of those 80s space orcs that we saw. So, overall, great look to these, and a nice selection. The game, I built 20 of these, so there's plenty for me to use. The basic game has you build 20 commandos with 2 machine guns. So again, they went together pretty quick. I did 20 of them in about an hour. Even if you want to consider the time that you need to actually build your models before you get playing, at most you're going to spend 2 to 3 hours between the Enforcers and the Marauders anyways. So it's not like you're losing days or weeks to be able to actually get in and start playing, even if you don't paint your models. So that is the Marauders. The Commandos. Let's take a look at the Brawlers. All right, and here we've got the Brawlers. Now, these use the exact same torsos, okay, and heads as you saw with the Commandos. Literally, it's the exact same kit, so you can buy one and you have the option to build either or. There are also additional options. So in this case, right here in front, we actually have a Brawler with a flamethrower. There is an option for a missile launcher as well. Although, because I am building it according to the forces in the starter set, I just did the flamers and the heavy machine guns. But the missile launcher is an option. Now, the nice thing about that is that means there's not a lot you have to worry about. You can buy the one kit, build it either direction. Use some for one type of unit, some for another, especially if you want to just start with some smaller games. But overall, it's giving you a lot of options. There are, knives, axes, and claws to go with the pistols. Some of the arms have full sleeves, some have torn sleeves, some have sleeves rolled up. So you get, a lot of variety, even though it doesn't necessarily look like it. They've kept the piece count down. You're still only looking at about 4 pieces plus a base on average. But again, as you can see, you can pose them fairly differently, get them to look a bit differently, so that you don't have that same model over and over and over. But overall, they look good, and I can't wait to get paint on them. So that is the Brawlers. So then let's take a look at one of the Ripper suits. All right, so here we've got a Ripper Rainmaker. Now this is basically the heavy weapon version. You've got a rotary cannon, you've got lasers, you've got mini missiles, you've got grenade launchers, all contained in just one power suit of just stuff. It's ridiculous. It's supposed to look ridiculous, but it's just kind of fun. Now, the Ripper suits are probably my biggest complaint. There was not any problems assembling them. They're still using what I believe is the sort of, I believe it was called Restic at the time, where it's sort of a softer PVC style plastic, but it didn't really affect it negatively. The biggest problem I have with it is that the model, if you're old like me, you've probably heard what's called the Partha pose. Now, when you look at very, very old miniatures, you would have like the fighter or the rogue, and they're just sitting there, and it's a very static pose because basically it was designed to be able to print in a single piece, no problem. And basically everything was kind of fanned out, similar to this Ripper suit. So I still think they look good, but that Partha pose really does kind of throw it off. I would have preferred some pieces a little better as far as being able to point the guns forward as opposed to out to the side. But unfortunately, you just don't really get that option. You can either point them straight out, or the other arms actually angle them up. You'll actually see that here in a second with the Mauler suit. So these were a bit disappointing because of the posing and the fact that you're not given a whole lot of options as far as what you can do with it. You can rotate the arms, but they're still pointing out to the side. So bit of a downer there. I would have liked to see some new ones because these have been out since Deadzone First Edition, but I also don't make those decisions or manage that budget. So hopefully we will get some new Ripper suits eventually, but for now these are fine. These are acceptable. So that is the Ripper Rainmaker. And then finally we've got the Ripper Mauler. Now this is your close combat variant. To be honest with you, I have no idea what weapons it has on it. Actually, I guess I could take a look here. They have assault weaponry. So, basically, it's just supposed to look like it is, chainsaws and blades and battering rams, all sorts of things for getting up in close in melee. And even though I have not played the game, I'm going to assume that that is how they work. Again, you still have the problem of the Partha posing. However, this one does give you that up angle towards for the arms as well. But I would have preferred something, directed a little bit more forward or maybe a little bit more dynamic. So, honestly, I think the bodies are fine. Maybe if they just redo the arms would be good. So maybe they could simplify a remake of the Ripper suits. But probably when they get to that point, it's just going to be looking at redoing the whole thing anyway. So I'm probably just, talking too much. But overall, it's a fine-looking model. Again, it's big, it's ridiculous, and it's supposed to be. It's a Ripper suit. So that is the Ripper Mauler. All right, now last up we actually have the Sprues. Now these are the two Sprues that make up the Marauder kit. This is the one that includes the bodies. Those are all located right here. And then different weapons. And then this sprue includes the head. And again, more weapon and arm options. So there's a decent amount of wasted plastic. I'll just say it that way. That's kind of how I look at it. But the fact that you're getting all of the parts to make two different units in one set of sprues, it is going to save on packaging. It's going to save on shipping costs. The actual cost of plastic, to be honest, is probably in the scale of pennies for the plastic itself. And then once you have the tooling, it's all covered anyways. So I get where people can be a little bit concerned about that. I do think it is something to consider, especially when you are making miniatures like this, and then, how can we eliminate waste? This is the sprues that I used for making the commandos. So again, you can see, there's still a decent amount of waste as far as the arms and some extra weapons and heads and things like that. But I don't think it's unreasonable. Yes, a lot of this plastic isn't going to get used, but as far as I am aware, it is recyclable. It does not say so on the sprue itself, but I believe it is recyclable. Some companies will even accept plastic towards model plastic towards recycling. So, there are a lot of alternatives as opposed to just chucking it in a landfill as well. I know, a little bit of an odd thing to look at for a review, but it is one thing that I consider after I've done the build. So overall, I really like how the Marauders came out. There are some problems, like I said, the fact that the Ripper suits are very static and have that Partha pose. The fact that the torso is already predefined. There's no a waist joint would have been nice to at least maybe rotate them a little bit more. But again, all that does is it adds cost towards the tooling, things like that. So I can understand the reasons that they made those choices, especially when you consider things like the fact that this kit only runs you about $130 for about 70 miniatures. The new starter set for another major sci-fi game came out, and it's north of $250. Depending on where you purchase it from. So there are a lot of advantages to this set, even if there are a few drawbacks. So I hope you enjoyed it. I hope you liked the look at the models to actually see what kind of things you would end up with once you built your kit. Yes, there is a lot more. I did not show off every single model that I built for the Marauders, but again, it's just to give you an idea, because not everybody is going to look the same in the end. But I do hope you enjoyed it. If you did, please do give it a thumbs up. Make sure you're subscribed to the channel. All this month, as I've said before, I will be doing content focusing on Firefight as I build and assemble this kit. And hopefully I can get some games in and give you some rules reviews as well, because I know that's one of my weaknesses, but we will definitely get there. So thank you so much for watching. Don't forget, down below we will have links to our social media on Facebook and Twitter, also to DriveThruRPG if you like purchasing books that way. And with that said, thanks so much for watching, and we'll talk to you next time. Bye.